The good news is we're all in this together. And when we see we're together, we can work things out. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Energy Week with George Harvey and the extraordinary Tom Fennell, world traveler, philosopher, and philanthropist.
If you hear any yelps running around here, my dog is here because I didn't want to leave him out in the car.
Well, it's cold today, which is why I'm wearing this thing, which is a quilted shirt with a hood. It'll get colder, though, I suspect.
What's going to get cold tonight? It's going to be 5, I think.
Something like that. Although here in Brattleboro, you know, we've got this.
It might even be 6 here.
Yeah, right. I find that in the coldest nights of the winter, the temperatures here are about anywhere from 5 to 10 degrees above what they are in the countryside. And that's the urban heating island effect. You know, there's a bunch of buildings around, and so it stays warmer. And the result of that is that you've got a microclimate, you know, that is.
Well, it's pretty common.
Yeah, it's very common. Yeah. I go onto the internet every day and get news and relating to climate change and energy, and every time I find an item that I think is interesting, I put together a 55 word synopsis with a link to the original. I put together about 10 to 15 of these every day, post them at my blog, geoharvey.com, and you can go there. You just geoharvey.com, GeoHarvey, and we will tell you the dates of the items that we come up with, so you can go to them by clicking on the calendar or scrolling down through the material that you find there.
Well, some of them are well worth reading, and I'll try to mention that because I read all of these things beforehand, and some of them have a lot of meat in them. Yes,
they do. Some of them, by the way, are very short, and the ones that come from Renewable, for example, are just very short items that will give you an idea of. This is Tom complaining, you know, barking off stage here is just. There are some that are just, we basically tell you everything, but in the article, but some of these are in a great deal of depth, and there's some interesting things this week.
There's one of them that comes up every week at the end. It's a website or something. I forgot which one it is. It's always worth following up on.
Which?
At the very end, we'll hit it again today.
We'll hit Clean Technica, maybe?
No, it's like Google. It's a website.
Okay.
It's not a technical search.
Well,
I mean, there's a lot of good stuff on Clean Technica.
Yeah.
But this one always comes up on the last day or the day before the last day. We'll get to it.
Okay. Anyway, we should start. We've got an item here from PV Magazine International, and it's about storage.
Here,
we have a picture. Yes, let's do the picture. There we go.
Come on, picture.
Jake is complaining. It's not Tom. I lied. Okay. And so this is about energy storage from PV Magazine International. Jake has something to say about it. He'll tell you when he gets around to thinking about it.
Yeah. Okay, this is a bunch of batteries.
There's a bunch of batteries.
Basically,
what's the title of the article?
PG&E signs energy storage deals.
Yep.
Pacific, you're going to tell us what PG&E is.
Yeah, Pacific Gas and Electric submitted 6 energy storage contracts totaling 165 megawatts to the California Public Utilities Commission for approval as part of its efforts to meet a state-mandated goal of adding 580 megawatts of storage by 2020. Now, that's just in what, 3 years? They want to get 580 megawatts. I looked this up.
It doesn't sound like much, but it is.
It's huge. If these contracts are approved, PG&E will already have reached 42% of its energy storage goal. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is that we just had this Tesla battery in South Australia, which was 120 megawatts. It was 129 megawatt hours. That was the biggest battery ever built. And
here's this one.
Here is this, and I looked into this, and I thought, you know, whenever you see these numbers, you have to ask, what is it? What's, you know, if 580 megawatts sounds like a lot, is it?
Well, it is a lot.
It's a lot. The most amount of electric storage ever put onto the grid in the United States for utility use in any year for the whole country was 67 megawatts up until 2015.
You mean battery storage?
Battery storage,
because there's pump storage.
Pump storage, you can get stuff that, is just amazing. It's so big.
Half a gigawatt isn't strange.
No. I mean, the Northfield Mountain Station
about that big.
It's a little over a gigawatt.
Is it a gigawatt?
It's 1,080 megawatts.
That's
It's
just more than a
substantial,
gigawatt.
Yeah. But this 580 megawatts is a lot, and the 165 megawatts is a lot.
That's a lot, yeah.
And the thing is, it could, if they decide on the right contractors, it could be in a couple of months.
In another couple of years, we're going to be looking at these numbers. We're going to be seeing how small they are.
Ho hum. Yeah, that's right.
Well, let's move on.
Okay, our next item is from Bloomberg Quint.
Bloomberg Quint. Wow. GE cuts jobs.
GE cuts jobs. General Electric Company is planning to cut 12,000 jobs in its power business, with most of the cuts happening outside the United States, a person familiar with the matter said. The manufacturer has been hit hard by flagging demand for electricity generated by natural gas, in part due to a shift toward power from renewable sources.
Well, the backstory here is General Electric in these divisions makes turbines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
Yep.
if there's no demand for turbines, there's no demand to make them.
Absolutely, and
that's
GE
what's
is
going on.
not the only company that's had this happen. Siemens had it happen too.
I got that in my notes here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Customers are turning away from fossil fuel sources.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Well, they don't like the dependency. They don't like having to spend money on fuel.
Duh. And it's shown here as the GE stock has plummeted by about half.
Well, GE has been having problems, and it's all
Yeah, they
been
have.
related to this. And their wind turbine division is doing just fine.
Yeah,
So-
they're doing okay. No, this is just their power division.
Yep. By the way, we're reading material from the 7th of December. I don't know if we mentioned that. Today's show is being recorded on the 14th.
Well, we go through the week day by day.
We do indeed.
Yeah, here we go.
And our last item for Thursday, December 7th is from Energy Voice.
Solar development gets the go-ahead. And this is in Scotland.
This is really interesting to me. The Moray Council, which is in northern Scotland,
Way up north, yeah.
has backed a development that could transform an abandoned airfield in northern Scotland into one of Europe's biggest solar farms. Elgin Energy wants to cover the Milltown airfield with about 200,000 solar panels. Moray's attraction is due to its long summer days.
Absolutely.
And the result, it is the result of its being so far north. When I was in college, we used to talk about solar power and how it was going to transform energy at some point. I'm going back to like 1967. And I remember one of the brighter students there saying, we may or may not ever see it in New England. And here we're talking about Scotland is a lot farther north than New England.
Oh, yes. I looked this up on a map because I wanted to see about where it was. Mm-hmm. And it just happens that Moray, who's in this notch
Yes.
in the top of Scotland, it's about the same level as Bergen, Norway.
Yeah.
Now, I was in Bergen, Norway with the Navy in June.
Yeah.
And we didn't have midnight sun.
But you also didn't have night.
You could read a newspaper at midnight just from the twilight. So that was a kind of an object lesson.
Well, if you think about this, here we're talking about Scotland, which is at the northern end of the British Isles. Mm-hmm. Now, if you think about the British Isles, London is kind of at about the same latitude as parts of northern Germany. And Vermont, the northernmost point in Vermont, is farther south than the southernmost point of Germany.
Yeah.
So, this is...
You got to get them in perspective.
You do. Yep.
Interesting.
Okay, we're up to Friday, December 8th.
Oh, this one's bad. We got a picture here.
Oh, this picture is going to be...
It's not a nice picture.
No, it's not a nice picture. Ooh, Clean Technica had this article.
California is burning, and the fires won't stop anytime soon.
That picture that you see there is cars commuting into Los Angeles. They are driving by that fire on their way to work. This is wow. Wildfires are raging just north of Los Angeles, destroying whole communities just a short drive from the city's downtown area. The fires consume everything in their path and only go out when they reach the Pacific Ocean. Pacific Ocean makes a substantial fire break.
It doesn't burn very well.
No. And this is not going to
Lake Erie burned, but...
Yeah. Commuters accustomed to massive traffic jams on Highway 101 are now forced to run a gauntlet of flames.
There's a little bit of a takeaway here.
Yeah.
Now, I'll read a paragraph.
Yep.
Climate scientists warn that the rains that might quench the inferno are at least 6 weeks away.
Yes.
And may never return. And this is the important part. The dry weather is attributable to high-pressure bubbles of warm air in the jet stream above the United States, above the west coast of the United States. They lead to what is known as an atmospheric ridge that blocks the moisture-laden storms from the ocean from reaching the area.
Yeah. They go instead to places like Alaska and British Columbia.
They can't get past
Oregon.
this barrier.
Yeah.
And researchers at the Lawrence Livermore National Lab are studying how melting ice in the Arctic Ocean may impact these weather patterns.
Yes.
The news is not good. They say that as the Arctic warms, it starts a chain reaction that leads to more frequent atmospheric ridges along the west coast, which means less rain and longer fire seasons, which is exactly what we're seeing.
We've got problems. Okay, we're up to...
We'll talk about this again this show. There's
yes, we
coming.
will, absolutely. We're up to an item from Energy Storage News. Storage is a big deal these days.
Well, it's particularly a big deal here because the headline says, storage industry players working to repower Puerto Rico. And this is a pretty good article.
Yeah. The latest confirmed initiative for power restoration in Puerto Rico is a donation of 6 megawatts of batteries from AES, which has suggested microgrids and large-scale solar could be the answer to long-term stability issues. Other companies, other companies, including Tesla, Sonnen, and Tabuchi America, have made equipment and labor donations. I wrote an article for Clean Technica about Sonnen putting in 6 I'm sorry, was it Sonnen? No, it was Tesla putting in 6 microgrids on islands just east of Puerto Rico that are part of the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And you know, a lot of this stuff is donated.
Yeah.
These companies are taking stuff down there and installing it. So this is...
There's an interesting map here on this website.
Yep.
It's the radar imagery of Hurricane Maria over Puerto Rico.
Yes.
And it could not have hit Puerto Rico harder.
No,
Puerto
it
Rico
could not have.
Right smack dab in the middle of this huge storm.
Yep.
Wow.
And okay, we should go on to the Guardian.
There's a quick one here.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
This is a quote. It would be absurd to rebuild Puerto Rico's antiquated fossil fuel dependent grid back the way it was.
Absolutely.
Which incidentally some people want to do.
Yes, of course.
Okay?
Yeah.
We must take advantage of the abundant, sustainable energy that they have.
Sunshine.
Who said that? Bernie Sanders.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Huh?
Yeah. Okay.
At least he knows what's going on.
We have a picture coming up
Yeah,
here, and I'm just going to flip us to it. There it is.
How did that happen?
How did that happen? Tom forgot to take the old picture off. Okay, we've got an article here from The Guardian.
Death spiral. Half of Europe's coal plants are losing money. Well, that doesn't come as a surprise.
No, it doesn't.
Not if you watch this show.
No, more than half of the European Union's 619 coal-fired power stations are losing money, according to a report from analysts Carbon Tracker. As a result, the industry's slow plans for shutdowns will lead to 22 billion euros, which is 25.8 billion, in losses by 2030 if the European Union fulfills its pledge to tackle climate change. Now,
the wording in the article is a little bit confusing.
Yes, it is.
If they close these plants, which they're really dragging their feet on, they're going to save 22 billion euros.
Yeah. And if they don't close the plants,
It's going to cost
it's
them.
going to cost them a lot of
That's
money.
what the rest-
And the
rest is
reason is because these plants are not operating sustainably in terms of just plain economics. They're losing money.
Simple.
Yeah. So,
And this comes from the article. The UK's climate minister. The time of coal has passed.
yes.
97% of the plants will be losing money by 2030. 97%.
97%.
Coal in Europe is in a death spiral.
Yeah.
Since 2010, utility stocks have plunged 20% in value as the rise of renewable energy radically reshapes the market.
Now, let's remember one thing here, and that is the coal plants are operating at a loss.
Yeah.
We'll get back to more stuff about coal. And as a matter of fact,
The next article.
is from Forbes.
Market forces could snuff out coal-fired electricity, even in coal country.
Yeah. Coal accounts for nearly 80% of the power generated by PPL Corp, based in Allentown, Pennsylvania. The company has issued a climate assessment saying that coal will provide 10% by mid-century. The decline will be caused by market forces. The company now vows to use more distributed energy and cleaner burning fuels, Donald Trump.
Well, this PPL is kind of a holding company. They own utilities. You know, actually two of their biggest utilities are in Kentucky, right in the heart of the
Of coal
mining
country. Yeah.
And they have been using the coal that's mined there, and now they're finding it uneconomical.
It's not economical to run these plants. We've already dealt with this on this show. It is cheaper to build new generating capacity that's solar or wind powered with batteries than it is to keep the coal plants going.
Well, that's the bottom line.
In many cases, not all cases.
I mean, the industry may not want to do that, but they're going to be forced to do it out of pure economics.
Now, I want to repeat what I just said.
Why don't you repeat it for the West Coast audience?
The problem that they have is that the coal plants are losing money as they are currently constituted.
Okay.
All right? So, you want to
It's
move
not
on?
going to get any better.
No, it's not. You want to move on?
This is an interesting article.
The one from in Habitat, we're up to Sunday, December 9th.
We're up to Saturday.
Saturday, December 9th.
Don't get ahead of
I
us
had the
here.
date right,
We got
but
a picture too.
weekday wrong. And we've got a kid here
Yeah.
with a person, and I don't know who the person is.
He's his professor.
He's the professor.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I looked at that person and I thought he looks enough like the kid that he could be the kid's father.
No,
But
this is an
this is
interesting
a-
story.
Yeah.
18-year-old invents a cheaper CO2 capture tech to fight climate change.
This is so obvious. I don't understand why it was missed by everybody else. But here is Ethan Novak. 18-year-old Ethan Novak has invented a CO2 capture technology that would capture carbon dioxide at about $10 per metric ton, about 85% less than the industry standard. It works by reacting the exhaust gases at the fossil fuel plant with ammonia. Water and CO2 react with the ammonia to form a salt, ammonium carbonate, which can then be used industrially.
Well, the article here, and I read it in depth because I wanted to figure out what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about taking the CO2 out of the air and putting it into something, although that can be done.
Yeah.
It's about the technology of just getting the carbon dioxide out of the air itself.
Yeah.
Which we've been able to do for a long, long time.
But this makes
it's
it
expensive.
cheaper. Yeah, this makes it much
is
cheaper.
way, way cheaper.
Yeah.
Way, way cheaper.
Yep.
And then what you do with the CO2 is
Up to you.
something else, you know.
Yeah.
Pipe it down into a hole in the ground or make
I
something out
don't
of
like
it.
that solution. It's going to come out again.
That's
And you
not
know,
a good
ammonium
idea.
carbonate is not all that stable. It can divide and produce ammonia and carbon dioxide. And but if you have the carbon dioxide captured, then you can do things with it, like make it into plastics or whatever. So,
Well, yeah, if you can isolate it, something can be done with it.
That's right.
You know, and people are working on that.
Yep. So now we're up to an article from Clean Technica, and
We don't have a picture on this one
we
yet,
don't
so
have a
I'll put
picture
you
on
up
this
there.
one, no. But it is an article from Clean Technica.
European utilities commit to 100% carbon neutral electricity well before 2050 because it's cheaper.
Because it's cheaper. Your Electric represents the interests of 3,500 electric companies all across the European continent on major issues. Its members create more than 200 billion euros in revenue each year. That's about, I'm going to say $215 billion. Its members agreed unanimously to commit to an ambitious program of making all electricity generated in Europe carbon neutral by 2050. It
Why
will
would they do
save
that?
them money.
Say that again.
It will save them money. Yeah.
Okay, this Euroelectric is the union of the electricity industry for Europe.
Right.
This is a big group.
Yep.
There's an interesting graph buried in this map.
Yes.
Okay, and it shows the price of a solar panel from 1975 until the present.
Yes.
And in 1975, it was $100 a watt.
Yes.
Now it's 60 cents a watt.
Yes.
Okay, the graph is a backwards hockey stick.
Yes. What
and,
was
and interesting in that same graph
you
is
have
the growth
increase.
of solar panels in megawatts, and it's almost a mirror image. One goes down and the other one goes up.
That's
almost
right.
almost
a
day by
mirror
day.
image. When did that start, Tom?
1975.
Okay. Now, in 1975, if you think about computers, there weren't any personal computers that people could buy.
No.
There were a few people made their own computers, but just a few. And at that time, computers were expensive, and they had a very similar drop in the price of computers. So, you know, what we're expecting with solar power, I think, is going to be similar to what we've had with computers.
It's very similar. It's running kind of on the same hockey stick.
Now, if you go to WordPress and you want to start a blog,
Yeah.
memory's free.
Yeah.
3 megawatts every time you start a blog, and there's no limit to the number of blogs you can start. Every time you start one, they give you another 3 gigabytes.
Okay.
So I'm figuring...
They got gigabytes running out their ears, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
I'm figuring, you know, what we're going to see in the next couple of decades is going to be similar to that in terms of the cost of electricity.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So
back to
now
the
we're
fires.
back to fires, and we're up to Sunday,
another
December
picture here.
9th, and we have this disturbing thing. This is from BBC News.
The new normal.
Yeah. Devastating wildfires fueled by climate change are, quote, the new normal, end quote. Governor Jerry Brown of California said. He continued, quote, we're facing a new reality in this state, end quote. And they said they could happen every year or every few years. He made the comments after serving damage from a 180 square mile fire in Ventura County, north of Los Angeles. Same fire we were just talking about. And by the way, that fire, the last time I heard, in terms of the size, which was several days ago, had already consumed an area of California approximately equal to the 5 boroughs of New York City.
Okay, that's about right.
That's
Yep,
about
that's
5
just about
counties, basically.
Yeah.
So
That's interesting.
yeah,
This isn't going away.
not anytime soon.
This is going to keep going for a while.
Well-
and it's really expensive real estate.
Oh,
This is some of the finest real estate in California.
and you know, if you consider the fact that we had the vineyard fires in Northern California, we've had a drought in Montana that has just demolished a large percentage of the American wheat
Yeah, we talked about that.
output, and we've had 3 major hurricanes. This is the first year in history that the United States has been hit by 3 major hurricanes.
Yeah.
Hurricane Harvey was the most expensive ever to hit the United States. Irma was the most intense and most powerful, and Maria was more intense than either of those two. We have record losses in the United States from weather, record losses, probably double, I would guess, the losses of any year that's ever happened before, maybe more.
Well, if it's a Chinese plot, they're good at it.
Well, the Chinese are spending more money on renewable energy than the rest of the world combined. Do you suppose they know something? You know,
Well, it's a command
basically,
economy. They can do what they want
I
to
know,
do.
but they're in a position where they can say, "We told you so," and it's going to make some.
They won't have to say that. We'll know it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. We are up to an item from Financial Tribune.
Oh, this one's a goodie.
Yeah.
Trump's plan to save coal and nuclear plants is in trouble.
Energy Secretary Rick Perry proposed subsidizing coal-fired and nuclear power plants to compensate them for the reliable energy they provide to the nation's grid. Now, I want to say, reliable should be in quotes here. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which Perry directed to study the issue, is scheduled to deliver a decision on the proposed rule on Monday being that day, or that following day, but asked for more time. And by the way, they were granted more time.
Yeah. Well, from reading the words between the lines here in the plan, in this article, the plan would likely boost cash flow for some embattled power producers, but those benefits might not be big enough to dissuade them from shuttering non-competitive plants.
I don't think they are. I don't think
it's a giveaway.
It's a
Basically,
giveaway.
It's a giveaway.
And what is it for? It is for subsidizing obsolete technology. That's what it's for.
Bingo.
You know.
Absolutely.
Now, nuclear people would probably not claim that nuclear is obsolete. But we don't.
It's just so expensive that it doesn't make any sense anymore.
It doesn't, and
too cheap to meter at one time.
Yeah, well, we're getting to a point where solar power is too cheap to meter.
Yeah,
and you know,
in places like Australia already it is. People are just voluntarily putting up solar panels because
because they save a lot of money.
Yeah.
Electricity in Australia is extremely expensive compared to the United States.
Just that.
And they have, I think, by far the greatest penetration in any large country of solar installations on homes or at homes in Australia, and that's why. It's because the electricity costs so much.
Yesterday afternoon, myself and a couple of the members of the Energy Committee went to visit a solar installation in West Pratt.
Yes.
And it's very interesting. I mean, this guy knows what he's doing. He was in the business.
Yes.
And he's really got a nice arrangement.
Who is that?
Jim Kirby.
Okay.
And he told me he didn't want to be on the show.
Well, we've mentioned him, so I hope he doesn't mind
he really
that.
knows what he's doing, and he showed us the numbers.
Yeah.
And boy, they're great. I mean, I forget the exact numbers, but he's actually paying for out of pocket for about 10% of the electricity he uses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's all coming from solar, and now he's storing it.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting because he's on one of those shared storage arrangements with Green Mountain Power.
Yes.
So Green Mountain Power can take energy out of his system
Which
and put
means
energy back
he
in.
pays a little bit extra for that, but he has security as a result. I tell people that it's basically you pay $15 a month for energy security.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Because he certainly has energy security.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
Okay.
let's move along here.
We're up to an item from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, still Sunday, December 10th, and we have a picture.
Let me get that picture up here.
Get that picture up.
Nice picture. Yeah.
Yeah, a nice picture. There you go.
A little bit of air pollution there.
That smoke that you see is from the airplane in the upper left.
Yeah, right.
This is all a big what do they call it? A chemtrail?
Chemtrails, yeah. The big chemtrail.
Big chemtrail. There you go.
This is an interesting article.
Yeah.
Worst global warming predictions likely to be the most accurate.
The worst case predictions regarding the effects of global warming are most likely to be true, a new study published in Nature has warned. It said that if emissions follow a commonly used business as usual scenario, there is a 93% chance that global warming will exceed 4 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. That's about 7.5 degrees.
They're saying they
Fahrenheit.
wanted to keep it under 2 degrees.
They want to, well, the Paris Accord was to keep it under 2 degrees.
Yeah.
And if it goes up 4 degrees,
we
are in deep, deep trouble. And
I'm
talking about probably billions of people dying as a result, because it's going to be extremely disruptive to agriculture all over the world.
If you got land in Florida, sell it.
Land in Florida. You know, the old joke when we were in high school was, people buying cheap land in Florida, and it turns out that it's in a swamp underwater. Yeah. Well, any land in Florida is likely to wind up being in a swamp underwater.
Pretty much from about 5 miles below Jacksonville all the way to Miami.
Yeah.
It's flat.
Yeah.
It's low.
Yep.
Right in the middle of the state, I think, is the high point. It's about 16 feet over sea level.
Well, the populated areas are primarily along the coast.
They're on the ocean.
And,
Miami's having problems right now.
They're spending almost $500 million just raising their roads and dealing with their storm sewers.
Well, that's a lot of money. Water is coming in the storm sewers instead of going out.
The water is every month at the new moon, every month at the full moon, the high tide backs up the storm sewers and floods the roads.
By the way, if you look at this article, which came from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution's newspaper, there's a neat 2-minute video on climate.
Oh, yes.
Well worth watching.
Yes.
It's just a slideshow, basically.
Yes.
But it shows many of the areas in the world where there are noticeable climate effects.
Well, there's that one county, I've forgotten the name of the county in Louisiana. It's this southwesternmost county. It had the highest percentage of people voting for Donald Trump, and the state of Louisiana, which is hardly run by Chinese conspirators, has told them, by the way, 35 years from now, this county is going to be underwater. Okay, we are up to Monday, December 11th, and we have an item from VT Digger.
Yeah, this one, I didn't like this one. Developer drops troubled bid for power line under Lake Champlain.
Months after putting the project on hold, the backers of the Vermont Green Power Line have pulled the plug on their proposal for power cable under Lake Champlain. The estimated $650 million project ran afoul of concerns that Vermont's grid wasn't prepared to handle the quantity of electricity the cable was slated to carry.
That's interesting. I don't think anybody figured that one out.
Well, why wouldn't they have done that way in advance?
Well, that's a good question, and I'm sure they're asking themselves that.
Well,
it seemed like such a good idea.
Yes.
But the grid can't handle it in Vermont.
Yes, I think.
And the purpose of it is not to help Vermont, it's to get that power down into New York and Connecticut.
Right. And I think that they were planning on possibly doing things a little bit differently than it ultimately. My guess is that they were planning on delivering that power to the southernmost point in Lake Champlain and having it split with some of it going into New York State there.
That's not this one. It was going to the southernmost point near Vergennes.
Yes.
Okay, and then it was going inland to New Haven.
Yes.
And it was supposed to hook up to the grid in New Haven.
Yes.
And the grid couldn't handle it.
The grid
couldn't
couldn't
handle it.
Yeah.
Well, there's another cable going in called the Granite State Power Link that's going to basically do the same thing, only it's on the eastern border of Vermont, New Hampshire.
Right.
A little bit of it's in Vermont, most of it's in New Hampshire, and that's under attack by environmentalists.
Well, you've said that thing about what happens when somebody says let's.
Yeah. Otherwise known as NIMBY, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really what's happening. But.
Well, in this case, I don't think it's NIMBY. Although, really.
No, this is not.
But
the one in New Hampshire is.
Yeah. But at the same time, people have to understand, we have to get our energy in the state, or we've got to change the way we're living. And I mean substantial big changes in how we're living. I don't think people are prepared for that. And we're going to have to change the way, and this is, in order to maintain the way we're living, we're going to have to change the way we fuel our cars. We're going to have to change the way we heat our homes. We're going to have to change the way we do a lot of stuff with industry.
It's happening as we speak.
Yeah.
And it's motivated by economics more than anything else.
Yeah, but it's also motivated by climate change.
That's causing the economics to change.
And the thing is, this means that if we don't generate that power locally, we're going to have transmission cables all over the state.
Don't get me started on transmission lines.
He knows about transmission lines.
I hate transmission lines. Always have.
I've always disliked them too.
I can remember, well, way back I was in college. I'm driving from New York up to Troy on a Taconic State Parkway.
Yeah.
There's a section there, maybe 10 miles, where all you see is power lines.
Yes.
Both sides that are high.
Yes.
Horrible.
They're horrible. Although I'll tell you,
This was in the 60s. you
my
know?
son told me a reason why you have to watch out for wind turbines. They're not good for you.
Why is that?
Well, he was driving in Arizona and he came over the top of a ridge, and he said that the land in front of him was just full of wind turbines.
Uh-oh.
And
Wow.
they were going round and round. And they look like they're going
hypnotized
slowly.
him, huh?
And he was going down this hill, and they just watching those wind turbines. And after a while, the car started making a funny noise, and he realized he was going about 90 miles an hour. He said, "You got to look out for the wind turbines. Don't let them hypnotize you." Okay,
We
we're
got
up
another
to,
picture coming up.
we
in
do
a-
indeed, and this is from a publication called Coin Square Discover.
This is an interesting article.
Yep.
It's long, it's detailed, and it's complicated.
Yes.
And I can relate to that picture because I have stood where that picture was taken.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, that's up near Banff in Alberta.
That's Moraine
Lake
Lake.
Moraine,
Yep.
which is in the Banff vicinity.
That.
And there's a road taking you to that spot.
Yep.
And it's one of the most beautiful spots in the world.
Yep.
And those mountains in the background are actually in British Columbia.
Ah. Okay.
It's just a beautiful area back in there. I went
Wow.
skiing up in there.
That valley, with its kind of bowl-shaped bottom, is a type of valley that the Welsh call a coombe, which is scooped out by a glacier.
Okay, I can believe that.
Okay. Go ahead.
The article is about blockchain. Canada is ready to be a global environmental leader using blockchain. And I don't know much about blockchain at all.
Canada is ready to be a global environmental leader using blockchain. You just said that. Blockchain technology could not have arrived at a better time. It can enable developing nations to leapfrog developed nations, and with recent quickly falling prices in solar and wind power, a future of renewable power grids is coming fast. Blockchain is basically an accounting system.
I got a little note about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically,
it's basically a public electronic ledger.
Yeah.
An accounting system.
It's an accounting system which is almost impossible to hack. And the reason is because basically what happens is when you create some energy, you can create a blockchain token that says, by the way, I made this energy.
And it's always there. It
And
can't be fiddled with.
That token goes into a bunch of different
Yep.
computers. So in order for blockchain to be hacked, they would have to hack all of those computers. And that makes
And they could be anywhere.
they could be anywhere in the world. One of the things that I love telling people is about one of the early emails I got, which was in the it was before 1996 at any rate. And I worked in a computer company and we were doing software, and the guy across the hall sent the rest of the R&D staff an email about a meeting that was going to happen in 2 days. 2 days later, he had to go around knocking on doors because nobody had got that email. Well, we made compilers and operating systems and stuff like that. The people who were working there were pretty much experts. And he was a very knowledgeable guy, and he managed to track where the email had gone.
Okay.
He just wanted to put it across just across the hallway. It had wound up being in a mainframe computer that lost its power in Sri Lanka.
Well, the takeaway from here is the blockchain contains a true and verifiable record of every transaction ever made in that system.
Right.
It doesn't go away, ever.
Ever. And the sun's going to burn out. But the blockchain and it's also, blockchain is the basis for Bitcoin.
Yes.
And so we have people, instead of mining Bitcoins, they're creating megawatts of electricity, which they can verify using blockchain in the same manner. So this is like the RECs that you hear about, and it's value that's created and then tradable.
Well, how it affects what we're talking about here in energy is it can compile all the information about all of the sources of electricity
Right.
that are available in that local system.
Right.
And any changes to it, any changes in demand, any changes in output, and it can automatically adjust
Right.
for what has to be done
Yeah.
to optimize the performance of that system.
Yeah, and it can also
It's damn clever.
and it can also make it possible for one person to sell power directly to another person. So if I have
Duck soup.
solar panels and the guy behind me has got no access to the sun to put up solar panels because his house is blocked or he's an apartment dweller, I can sell it to him, and it's absolutely verifiable that I
You're
have
not even
produced
going to have to sell it to him. The system's going to automatically do it.
Yes, that's right. Well, I can collect the money and he can have to pay it.
And this allows you to get paid. This is really brilliant. I mean, it's you're way so far over my head. I can't even believe it. But this is the
There
future.
are people saying we're not going to have money at all.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
but we'll have to see how that works out. Okay, our next item is from Sputnik International.
Uh-huh.
And I have no idea where Sputnik International is, but it's not in Russia, I don't think.
I don't remember. You had one of them that was coming from Iran. I know that.
I think Sputnik, I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom.
Global economists, this is a quote, end all investment in fossil fuels. Wow.
The global economists are saying that. A call to action signed by some of the world's most prominent economists urges wealth fund managers, professional financiers, and all investors to stop investing in businesses that extract, process, distribute, manufacture, and sell fossil fuel products, including any form of oil, gas, coal to generate power.
Well, yeah. What these guys are saying is if you want to get anything done, you got to make it profitable. But the inverse is true as well. If you want to end something, make it unprofitable.
Well, what's happening
This
here?
is happening
Yeah.
by itself.
Well, it is, and you know the thing is, people should be getting out of these things, even if they can't see an ethical argument, or something along those lines. They should be getting out of fossil fuels because they're going to go broke if they stay in.
If it's as far as energy is concerned, if it's going to be burned, it must be spurned.
Yes. Well, you know, I've mentioned before what happened to the Dow Jones Coal Index. People know about the Dow Jones Industrial Index.
Yeah.
There's a Dow Jones Coal
Index.
Index, which was in 2008 a little over 730. And the last time I looked, it was
I
46.
think we're going to talk about that at the last article today. The one that you wrote.
Yes, as a matter of fact, yeah.
But
Okay.
we'll get to that.
Okay, we're up to December 12th, which was Tuesday.
This is a interesting
And we have a
article.
picture there of a black-legged kittiwake.
There he is.
That's not a seagull.
There he is.
Tad Montgomery said, that looks like a seagull.
It does,
It
yeah.
does. It's not a seagull. See his feet? They're black.
This is an interesting website because there's a lot of nice images of birds in it.
Well, the article has that. The article is at BBC.
And it's called A Worrying Alarm Call for the World's Birds on the Brink of Extinction. And the pictures are all of birds that are endangered.
Yep. The birds are increasingly threatened. Overfishing and changing sea temperatures are pushing seabirds to the brink of extinction. New data on world's birds shows birds are now globally threatened, include the kittiwake and the Atlantic puffin. A lot of people love those puffins. And on land,
Oh, they're neat.
yeah, they are. On land, snowy owls are struggling to find prey as the Arctic ice melts. And this is according to conservation groups. And I am reminded here that about 2 years ago, the Royal Society for Protection of Birds issued a study that they had been doing inventories. A lot of people do bird inventories.
Well, I was
They've been
just
doing
going
it
to
for
mention
years.
that. They're great indicators of the health of a wider environment.
And they said that the populations had dropped over a 60-year period of these inventories. Populations of seabirds worldwide had dropped 70%.
There's a list in this article about exactly that.
Yeah.
And it's a scary list.
It's a scary list, and you know, people talk about wind turbines killing birds. I've got news for you. The thing that's killing the birds is fossil fuels. I mean, you look at the things that are causing trouble. It's pollution from burning the fossil fuels, oil spills, chemicals that come from fossil fuels being spilled or used in ways that are not helpful.
And just the cooling towers, birds crashing into them.
Absolutely, and you just go on and on and on, and it's not easy being a bird.
Wasn't there a song about that?
I don't know.
Oh, not easy being a what?
I don't know.
It's one of those TV characters.
I don't know.
A cartoon character.
I don't know.
Yeah, it'll come to me. Not
Okay.
easy being a what?
Well, our next one is from Clean Technica.
That is a good one, too.
Yeah.
Batteries keep on getting cheaper. Duh.
Duh. Here's another good news item that will certainly bother EV critics, though most people seem not to know it. The batteries that power the EVs, the electric vehicles, keep getting cheaper. The average price of a lithium-ion battery pack is down to $209 per kilowatt hour, and the prices are set to fall below $100 per kilowatt hour by 2025, according to Bloomberg New Energy Finance Survey.
And that's on lithium batteries, which
That's
right now is
lithium.
the battery of choice.
Yeah.
But there's people working on stuff way beyond lithium batteries.
Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. Yeah.
The EV car is the way of the future.
Yes.
I mean, there's no way around it.
Yeah. Well, we have to do that.
I mean, just from the standpoint of maintenance, you don't even have to change the oil. The only thing you have to change is the tires.
I asked Jason Cooper, what does he do because he drives an electric vehicle? What maintenance? And he said, well, I have to change the windshield wipers.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
We're up to Wednesday, December 13th.
Ah, yes, we got another picture.
Yes, we do. And I should put it up, shouldn't I? There we go.
Now, we've seen this picture before.
Have we?
Last week we talked about this exact concept, or not a
Well,
concept.
same concept.
I think it was this exact
picture?
Picture and this exact
Well,
lake.
I've got a hole in my head because I don't remember it.
Well, this is in China, and it was a coal mine, and they flooded the coal mine, and they put up all of these panels.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, this is from Quartz.
From who?
Quartz.
Quartz, of course. I think this was the one that came from Iran. You get some of them from all over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, this is... Dead coal mines everywhere are being reincarnated as solar farms. Interesting.
The world is quickly abandoning coal, but that's not the end of the road for coal mines. In many countries, they're coming back to life as solar farms. The world's biggest floating solar project began operating in the Chinese city of Huainan. I'm sorry, I can't.
We'll forgive you this time.
You're just going to have to consistently forgive me for Chinese, which accounted for nearly 20% of the country's coal reserves in a 2008 estimate. I can pronounce German, English, and Welsh, but for anything else,
no good on Chinese. Huh?
No good on Chinese or French. I wish I knew how to speak French.
Well, this is a collapsed coal mine in China.
Yep.
There's doing the same thing in Germany.
Yep.
Okay, doing the same thing, believe it or not, in Appalachia.
Yep, and as a matter of fact, Chernobyl is having solar panels put in the areas that are not livable because of...
I think I read that, yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And the UK,
okay.
Well, they haven't done it yet, but they're planning to turn the country's last deep coal mine into a 5-megawatt solar farm.
Yeah. Well, you know that thing about the airfield that we had earlier. If you think about it, there are abandoned airfields all over the UK, all over.
Well, these are remnants of World War II.
They're remnants of World War II.
Yeah.
When I lived in Devon in 1962, there was and the pavement on it was still good in 1962, and the kids would go out and they'd race on it. Mm-hmm. It was blocked off so people couldn't race on it, but of course
they did.
They did anyway. And there was a piece of road that went out there, and it was the only straight road in Devon, I think. Devon is amazing. You drive around the house where we lived. There were roads which were sunk about 3 feet below grade.
Oh.
And they had gutters on the sides, And those gutters were deep. They were like that wide and that deep. I wouldn't want to get a tire caught in one.
I don't think so.
And the material that had been excavated from the road was put up on the side. So you had mounds.
Like a fence.
And then there was hedges growing out of that. So this was hedgerows.
Yeah.
Now, I have no idea when these roads were made, but they would wind, like this, and you'd be driving down a road that was narrow enough that if you had two Cadillacs come across each other, they'd probably come to a crawl. So people would, and they'd probably have people going like this, hoping that, and you're driving down the road and all of a sudden there's a double-decker bus in front of you.
Oh boy.
Coming at you. So.
Well, there's an interesting thing here. Building solar plants to top defunct coal plants has several advantages.
Yes.
One of them is the lakes that form in old coal mine pits often make the land unsuitable for farming.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, those lakes can be toxic.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. A floating solar farm also works more efficiently thanks to the cooling effect of the water.
Right.
And finally, the solar panels can mitigate water evaporation.
Yes.
So it's a win-win situation here.
Yep.
We're going to see more of that.
Yep. Okay, should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Our next
Pepsi-Cola hits the spot.
Our next item is from Clean Technica.
PepsiCo orders 100 Tesla semi-trucks, which is the largest Tesla semi order to date. They're not even making these yet.
Yeah, they're not going to be making them for over a year. And you know, it's funny because when Elon Musk introduced these things, one of the first things that happened was that various organizations, started publishing stories about it, and among them were people saying, nobody's ever going to buy these trucks. and part of the reason that they said nobody would ever buy the trucks was because plugging in one of those trucks would take as much power, they said, as keeping, I think it was 4,000 houses powered for a day.
Sounds like a lot.
Somebody had a badly misplaced decimal point, I think. But,
a picture of one of these tractors, and it's nice looking, futuristic, streamlined.
Yeah. In what amounts to the largest order yet for Tesla semi-truck, PepsiCo has placed a pre-order for 100 units. By the way, the pre-order costs $50,000, so this is a lot of money. The order is exactly twice as large as the previous largest order, in which Cisco Systems had ordered 50 of them. The number of reservations taken to date, according to a tally that Reuters is maintaining, is now at least 276.
Well, these are not really over-the-road trucks. They're for limited use locally. They're still full-size trucks, but they have a range of 500 miles.
That's limited use locally?
Well, yeah, if they're going back and forth making deliveries.
Oh, you mean the local use is limited?
Well, they're not going to be able to go for across country.
Sure they would, Tom.
Well, they'd have to recharge.
They have to recharge. But
that's not their plan.
The truck driver has to take a break every 8 hours.
Yeah.
And they recharge.
Their plan is to use things in a limited 500-mile range.
Well, in a 500-mile range, yes, which is actually pretty far if you think about it.
Well, let's say that they're based in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
They're going to be able to go maybe as far as Cleveland, maybe as far as Philadelphia, just locally. I mean, that's what
they could go to Boston and then recharge in Boston and go back again.
I don't think that's their plan, but yeah, they could.
Well, I think that they've probably
this is going to evolve.
This. Yeah. Okay, should we move on? You have more.
One final thing: Tesla's planning a pickup truck.
Is it going to be a big pickup truck with an extended cab and a rack in the back window for people to hang their rifles and shotguns?
They haven't announced that yet. I guess it will come with a free gun rack, though.
A free gun rack.
You would have to.
If you ask for it. Yeah, well, we'll see if that happens.
Now, this is the last one I think we got here.
It is the last, and we have a picture here.
Yeah, let's get a picture
We do.
up. Yeah.
This is I don't know if this is the first Rembrandt picture we've put up, but it is a Rembrandt.
That's Belshazzar's Feast.
And this was published in Clean Technica.
Handwriting on the wall for natural gas. So that's what this article is about. It's a biblical story of handwriting on the wall.
Well, actually, it's
about
natural gas, and the reason I happen to know for a fact that the handwriting on the wall appears in the last 2 paragraphs of the article as an explanation of why it has the title that it does.
Yeah, yeah.
But the article is about natural gas. September of 2016, that is over a year ago, was the last month in which U.S. natural gas generation exceeded what it had been for the same month in the previous year. Since September 2016, every single month has seen a decline for electricity generation from natural gas, which has dropped 10% overall. This is in the United States.
By the way, if you're going to compare natural gas use, you don't go month to month to month because the situation changes.
Oh, it changes radically.
You got to go for a year ago.
Yep.
The same month a year ago, and now you're getting an accurate picture.
Now, we've talked about General Electric closing down power plants, power equipment manufacturing plants overseas, 12,000. We talked about Siemens and the fact that they had similar problems. And now, today, I came across a thing saying that this 10% decline in gas use is not just in the United States, it's worldwide.
Worldwide.
And it is said to be because it costs more money to generate electricity with natural gas than it does with solar and wind. And of course, natural gas prices are not going down.
Not anymore.
And because they hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And you know, the people manufacturing natural gas were not making money at the prices that they were over a year ago.
Absolutely.
But the prices are not going to go down much.
Well, this isn't widely publicized.
No, this is something, you know, this is something that, this is the first article I have seen about this particular issue. And
exactly. It's not being widely publicized.
Not being widely publicized. And now it's starting to be widely publicized almost immediately after this article appeared. And of course, Clean Technica is the most widely visited clean tech website in the world. So there may have been people writing things about this. But the data was there. The data came from the United States Energy Information Administration and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And you can see the use of natural gas for generating electricity has dropped substantially, but at the same time, natural gas plants are still coming online. And what that means...
Well, they started them a couple of years ago.
They are fulfilling orders that were placed...
The market looks great.
Yeah. And what that means, though, is that those natural gas plants are operating at diminished levels of efficiency.
Right off the bat.
Which means that the electricity they generate has to cost more.
Bingo.
So, you know, we're in this period where, all right, if the volume of natural gas that's being used is reduced, then the fixed costs have to be distributed over less product.
Which means the prices are going to go up.
Which means the price has to go up. So in a declining market, we've got the
spiral.
It's a death spiral. And you know, it's like demand goes down so the price goes up. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to a lot of people, but it's nonetheless what I'm expecting. And of course, the person who wrote this article expects it too.
Well, I'll read the last part of the article.
Yeah, go ahead.
You wrote the article. So.
I did.
By the way, what the hand in the Bible wrote on the wall was, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Parsin, which has been taken to mean God has numbered the days of your realm and is bringing it to an end. You have been weighed and found wanting. Your possessions are to be divided and given to the powers.
Persians.
Yeah, sorry
Persians.
about that. Sorry, guys.
But you know, it's interesting because the comments on this
Yeah.
included a number of people commenting. We have to go, so I think we should say goodbye to
Yeah,
everybody.
let's say goodbye.
See you
Adios.
next time, or I hope you'll see us next time. We can't see you. See you later.